Hi, I'm Tara Cicero from Lehigh University, and I'm honored to share our group's work with you. Our paper shares the design and development process of the dialogue system for the desktop virtual reality game, Mystery of the Lehigh Gap. It outlines design choices as a means of increasing the immersiveness of gameplay. The game explores the historical changes around the Lehigh Gap area, Pennsylvania, USA, due to a zinc smelting plant from the late 19th to late 20th century. It is based on real historical events, sites, and timelines. Learners experience immersive gameplay through a series of mini games that incorporate historical content knowledge and is designed to engage one's emotional connection to the materials. Throughout our design and development process, all visualization elements of the game go through an iterative process with input from our partners, including a local historian, to ensure that the visual elements of the game are authentic to the different time periods depicted. Avatars that are historical figures drive the game narrative forward with their dialogues throughout the game. These non-playable characters, or NPCs, present the content knowledge for learners and the historical context of each visited location or activity performed, and were inspired by historical photos and figures. Our avatar design process began with two initial avatar prototypes, one historical and one anime style. They evolved into an anime-style avatar with the shading and colors of a historical avatar to help engage a broader audience of all ages. Avatars use shading techniques commonly found in political cartoons of the game's era, including A, cross-hatching, B, hatching, and C, sepia tone, all labeled here. Three different styles of dialogue boxes assist learners with identifying and recognizing the game's main stakeholders, the learner or player, the narrator, and NPCs. Here we see the player dialogue box at the top and the narrator dialogue box at the bottom. During the narrative, the player often shares metacognitive prompts such as, "Now where am I?" to increase learners' engagement during gameplay. To provide a more immersive experience, the group devised contextual conversations between NPC avatars and historical figures. The avatars display on both sides of the dialogue box to represent conversational turns. When an avatar speaks, their picture lights up and a voiceover starts while the other avatar fades into the background. You'll notice the keywords are highlighted in yellow. The player can click these words to learn more. Dialog boxes use a convection font, which is both accessible and a nod to the Microsoft Xbox Entertainment System. Additionally, the dialog box colors align with Lehigh University branding. To add to the immersiveness of gameplay, historic postcards are used as backgrounds throughout the game. During gameplay, newspapers communicate the time period and local context authentically. After each time travel cutscene or time jump, players find themselves in different periods of the game timeline. Real local newspapers from those respective time periods are used as background, along with a summary of the main events of the narrative. Stylistic match and accessibility were considered when selecting fonts for the informational components. Here's an example of what the newspapers look like on screen. The headline and top of newspaper display first, then it scrolls down to display the background information for the player. Authentic photos illustrate the storyline in the game's prologue and epilogue, demonstrating the change in the area from 1845 to 2022. The primary focus of these images is to showcase the environmental transformations resulting from industrial activities over the years and to provide a direct visual representation of how the environment has improved with the passage of time, including the return of vegetation. In the subsequent interactive game, comparison photos appear side by side, offering users a chance to examine the differences. When users hover their mouse over the corresponding images, relevant text descriptions display. These descriptions provide valuable context, helping users better understand the history of the area and the changes that have occurred between the past and the present. And here's an example of a modern photo being used in conjunction with narration, featuring Chad, one of our community partners from the Lehigh Gap Nature Center. We invite you to join our group at our poster session to learn more about the design of visual components for the Mystery of the Lehigh Gap.